Auzubillahiminash-shaytanir-rajim. Bismillahir-rahmanir-rahim. Dear students, welcome to lecture number 12 of managerial economics. Our today's topic is perfect competition and monopoly. In this lecture, we will discuss in detail the price and output determination under perfect competition and the price and output determination under monopoly. So, first we come to the perfect competition. Dear students, you know that perfect competition is a market with many buyers and sellers trading identical products so that each buyer and seller is a price taker, Mankeef. There's a definition given by Mankeef that it is a market situation in which the buyers and sellers they sell a homogeneous product and each firm is a price taker. It is a market situation in which there are a large number of buyers and sellers buying and selling a homogeneous product with perfect knowledge of market in the absence of artificial restrictions and free entry and exit of firms. So we also discussed this topic in the last lecture as well. We can define the perfect competition as a market situation in which there are a large number of buyers and large number of sellers, and they buy and sell a homogeneous product, and each buyer and seller have perfect knowledge of the market and the absence of the artificial restrictions and free entry and exit of firms. Perfect competition is a type of market in which there are a large number of buyers and sellers. All are engaged in buying and selling a homogeneous product without any artificial restrictions and possessing a perfect knowledge of the market. Dear students, we discussed in the last lecture as well the conditions or assumptions or characteristics of perfect competition. We discussed that there are a large number of buyers and sellers in the market such that a single buyer or single seller cannot affect the market price. Similarly, the product is homogeneous. The single consumer cannot differentiate between the product of one firm from the product of the other firm. Similarly, perfect knowledge of the market, both the buyer and sellers have perfect knowledge of the market, so no seller can increase the price individually because he will lose customers, as all the buyers have perfect knowledge of the market as well. No artificial restrictions, there are no restrictions from the government, there are no price ceiling, no floor pricing from the government, and a perfect mobility of factors of production. And similarly, there is free. We can add that one of the characteristics of the perfect competition is free entry and exit of firms. If some of the firms are making very good profit, then the new firms are allowed to enter the industry. Or some of the firms are not going very good business, then they are making losses, then they can leave the market, thereby raising the profit for the other firms. Revenue curves under perfect competitions of dear students, let us discuss before going toward the price determination under perfect competition. Let us discuss how the price curves are derived under perfect competition. In column number 1, you see the price is fixed, and suppose that this price is 4. We know that in perfect competition the price remains constant. In the second column, units of output 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the price is the same for all units. The total revenue, you know that the total revenue is actually the product of the price and the quantity. So in the next column, average revenue has been shown. If you divide the total revenue by the quantity, if you divide 4 by 1, we get 4. If you divide 8 by 2, we get 4. 12 by 3, 4. 16 by 4, 4. And 20 by 5, 4. So the price, the average revenue is equal to the price of the product in the perfect competition. Similarly, margin revenue, which is the revenue which we derive from additional unit of output. So the margin revenue of the first is 4, For the second unit, how much is added? 8 minus 4, 4, 12 minus 8, 4, 16 minus 12, 4 and 4. So looking at this particular table, we can see that in perfect competition, the price is equal to the average revenue is equal to the margin revenue. In other words, we can say that in perfect competition, the average revenue, margin revenue and the price are equal. We can also draw it on the graph. If we draw it on the graph, we will get on the x-axis we have measured the output, the units of the output. On the y-axis we have measured price, average revenue and the margin revenue. When we consume 0 unit, the price is 4. For 1 unit, the price is 4. For the 2 unit, the price is 4. For the 3, 4. So the price line is parallel to x-axis. Similarly, for the first unit, average revenue is 4. For second, average revenue is 4. For the third, it is 4. For fourth, and so on. So the average revenue curve is also equal to parallel axis. As in the perfect competition, the average revenue is equal to margin revenue is equal to price. So the curve of the average revenue and margin revenue is parallel to x-axis under perfect competition. Talking about the total revenue curve will be upward sloping. Let us discuss with the help of this diagram taken from Khwaja and Khwaja 2018-19. For 1 unit, the total revenue is 4. For 2 unit, it is 8. For 3 unit, it is 12. For 4 unit, it is 16. And for 5 unit, it is 20. For 66, it is 5 unit, it will be 20. So now, dear students, an important topic relevant to the perfect competition is the equilibrium of a firm under perfect competition, or sometimes we can say price and output determination under perfect competition. So, how the price and output are determined at perfect competition? It is not difficult, it is simple. We can explain it with the help of graph and table as well. But before going toward the graph, we can simply we can 1 minute, let me reduce the line spacing. Let this be 2. Yes, it is okay now. For the equilibrium of a firm, there are 2 conditions for equilibrium of a firm under perfect competition. A firm will be in equilibrium if the 2 conditions are met. The first condition is that the margin revenue should be equal to the marginal cost. MC is equal to MR is equal to MC, margin revenue is equal to marginal cost. This is condition number 1. Let this be condition number 1. The second condition is the slope of the marginal cost curve is greater than the slope of marginal revenue curve. This is important, very important condition. Another we can say the marginal cost curve should cut marginal revenue curve from below. Look at this diagram. We see that on the y-axis we have measured price, the revenue, price and revenue. On the x-axis we measure the quantity. So we see that this marginal cost curve, this intersect marginal revenue curve at 2 points T and P. This means at point T, the marginal revenue is equal to marginal cost. Similarly, at point P, the marginal revenue is equal to marginal cost. Now the question arises whether the equilibrium is at point T or at point P. If you look at point T, the slope of the MC is downward, while at P, its slope is positive. This means that the equilibrium will not be at point T but at point P. Similarly, in other words, we can say that at point T, The MC cuts MR from above, so it cannot be the equilibrium point. At point P, it cuts the MR from below, so P is the equilibrium point where MC is equal to MR, and the MC cuts MR from below, so P is the equilibrium point. We can have different cases for the profit so far the profit or loss is concerned. First we come to supernormal profit. In this particular diagram, we have measured the price revenue on the y-axis and the quantity on x-axis. The AC is the average cost curve, MC is the marginal cost curve. This straight line parallel to x-axis is AR is equal to MR is equal to P. You know that in perfect competition, the average revenue curve and marginal revenue curve is the same and it is parallel to x-axis. So dear students, let's come to see where is the equilibrium point. We search the MC. Yes, the MC cuts MR at point E. So E is said to be the equilibrium point. And this is also a price line. So OQE is the price of the commodity. Dear students, here the average cost curve is below the price line. If we extend this equilibrium point downward, it meets the AC at L. This means that the average cost is QL. Average cost is QL is equal to OZ. But the price is OR. The cost is OZ, price is OR. This means this rectangle is the profit. This is the second case for the normal profit. In this case, we see that the curves are the same. MC is the marginal cost curve, AC is the average cost curve, AR, MR, P is the parallel line. Here we see that MC cuts the MR at point E. The average cost curve AC, which determines the cost, is also tangent at that point. This means that the price is OQE as well as the cost is QE. In other words, the cost is equal to the price. This means that this is the case of normal profit. The firm is earning enough to pay to its factors of production. The third case is the loss. In this case, we see the curves are the same. AC is the marginal cost curve, MC is the marginal cost curve. We see this line AR is equal to MR is equal to P as the price line or average revenue curve or marginal revenue curve, because as we discussed already that AR and MR in perfect competition, the marginal revenue curve and average revenue curve are the same. So coming to the equilibrium position, MC cuts MR at point E, so E is said to be the equilibrium point. OQ will be the quantity produced and QE equal to OI will be the price. But we see the average cost curve is above the price line. This means the cost is higher. If we extend this equilibrium point, the average cost curve, it meets it at Z. So the cost is QZ equal to OR, while the price is QE is equal to OI. So the cost is greater than the price. The price is OQE, the cost is QZ. So this shaded area shows the loss. Shutdown case, sometimes it happens that the cost is too much higher, which is unbearable for the producer. So we see that in such case, this will be a shutdown point. The firm cannot exist. If there is free entry and exit of the firm can leave the market. Long run freedom of a firm. In the long run, we see in the perfect competition, the firm will be earning normal profit. We see the long run marginal cost curve, the long run marginal cost curve cuts the MR marginal revenue curve from below 8 point R. The long run average cost curve is tangent to this price line 8R. So price and the cost are the same. If the average cost curve goes above, thereby making a loss in long run, some firm will exit the market, thereby raising the profit for the others. Or in case the average cost curve is below the price line in long run, new firms will enter the market, thereby increasing the profit of the other firms, and again the normal profit will be attained. So in the long run, as due to the entry and exit of the firm, if some of the firm are making abnormal profit, supernormal profit, new firm will enter, thereby reducing their profit to the normal profit. Or if some of the firms are making losses which are unbearable for them, and there is a shutdown case, then such type of situation, some of the firm will quit the market, thereby raising the profit of the others. So now let's come to the case of the monopoly. Monopoly, as discussed earlier, the word monopoly has been derived from the combination of two words, mono and poly, which refers to a single. Mono refers to single, and poly to control, means the control of a single person. As I discussed earlier, that it is another extreme of the market condition. Perfect competition is the extreme competition, while monopoly is the absence of the competition, means no competition. So there is a single seller in a producer of a product in case of monopoly. Monopoly refers to a market situation in which there is only one seller of a commodity which has no close substitute. It is a market situation in which there is a single producer or seller of a product which has no close substitute. So there is single producer or seller and the product has no close substitute. Causes of monopoly, we discussed in the previous lecture that the monopolies can arise due to the ownership of essential raw material, due to the patent and research rights of a firm, the state ownership, the public utilities. The monopolies are also established in case of public utilities. If the government decide to provide the public utilities and establish organization for it, enterprises for it, then it becomes the monopolist in the provision of those utilities. Economies of scale, sometimes for the large scale production, these small firms, they shy to enter, they don't have enough investment, they can't invest, so there is monopoly of the larger firms. And the monopoly can also arise due to the unfair competition. Now, before going to the price and output determination, let's discuss the revenue curves under monopoly. We see price, if the price is 12, the 1 unit is sold. If the price becomes lower, more units are sold. We see as the price goes down, more and more units of the product are sold. Total revenue, as discussed in the previous topic as well, it is actually the product of price and the quantity. So if we multiply the price with the quantity, 12 ones are 12, 10 twos are 20, 8 threes are 24, and so on. So the column number 3 shows the total revenue, which has been derived from the multiplication of the column number 1 and column number 2. The third column shows average revenue. Average revenue is actually, if you divide the total revenue by the quantity. So we divide the column number 3 by column number 2. So 12 by 1, 12, 20 by 2, 10, 24 by 3, 8, 24 by 4, 6, 20 by 5, 4, and so on. And you see a downward trend in the average revenue. Margin revenue is given in the fifth column, and it is actually the revenue which we derive from the selling of sale of an additional unit of output. For the first unit, the margin revenue is 12. For the second, how much is added? 12 minus 20 minus 12, 8. So 8 is the margin revenue. For the third unit, how much is added to it? 4. So the 4 is the margin revenue. For the next unit, how much is added? Nothing is added, so the margin revenue is 0. For the next unit, the revenue is reduced, so it is minus 4, minus 8, and so on. If we draw the curves on the graph, we will see that both the curves are downward sloping in case of the monopoly. We see the margin revenue curve and average revenue curve downward sloping, and here the average revenue curve is above the margin revenue curve. And dear students, you know that the average revenue curve is actually the demand curve for that particular firm. Equilibrium of a firm under monopoly, or we can say the price and output determination under the monopoly, under zero competition. So for the equilibrium is concerned, dear student, we discussed in the previous topic as well, that there are two conditions for a firm to be in equilibrium. The first condition is that the margin revenue is equal to the marginal cost. So MC is equal to MR, or margin revenue is equal to marginal cost. This is condition number 1 for equilibrium. And the second condition is the slope of MC is greater than the slope of MR. In other words, in simple way, we can say that the marginal revenue curve, the marginal cost curve cuts marginal revenue curve from below. Dear student, this is a picture in which we say the derivation of the equilibrium of a firm under monopoly in short run, and this is the case of the supernormal profit. This MR is the margin revenue curve. We have already discussed that it is downward sloping. Look here, MR downward sloping. Above it, the average revenue curve. Yes, above it, average revenue curve. This is SMC, the short-run marginal cost curve. The SAC shows such short-run average cost curve. On the y-axis, we measure average revenue, marginal revenue, average cost, marginal cost. While on the x-axis, we see the output. So the output is determined on x-axis, while the revenue and cost and price are measured on y-axis. So we see in this picture that the shorter marginal cost curve cuts marginal revenue curve from below 8 point E. So this means that E is the equilibrium point. OQ of the output will be produced. Now, in order to find out the price and the cost, we extend this equilibrium position E upward. When E extend it upward, it meets the average cost curve at N and average revenue curve at M. This means that the price is QM is equal to OP, because we discussed earlier that the average revenue curve is actually the demand curve. So the point on it will give us the price. So the POP is equal to QM is the quantity price, and OR is equal to QN is the cost. Now we see that the price is greater than the cost. So the shaded area is actually the profit. So looking at this diagram, we see OQ quantity will be produced, OP will be the price, PM and R will be the total profit. Less than optimal profit, optimum level. We see here the same situation where we see the so it is another case under the monopoly where we see less than optimal level. Dear students, you can give a reading to Khwaja and Khwaja 2018-19 and MenQ 2018 for further details of this lecture.